The screen went dark before I could see the name. Simona twisted her body away from me on the couch, pressed the phone against her chest like it held her heartbeat, and smiled that smile I used to love. It was 1 in the morning on a Tuesday. We were supposed to be watching a movie. The phone buzzed again in her hands, muffled but insistent, and she stood up so fast the blanket slid off her lap onto the floor. She walked toward the bathroom without a word, her bare feet silent on the hardwood, and I watched the door close between us with a soft click that sounded louder than it should have. I sat there in the blue television glow, my heart doing something slow and wrong in my chest. We had been together 3 years, engaged for 6 months. The ring cost me $4,000 I saved working double shifts at the distribution center, overtime on Saturdays when my back ached so bad I could barely stand straight by Sunday. She used to leave her phone everywhere, on the kitchen counter, on the bed, screen up, and unlocked. Now it lived in her purse or her pocket or her hand, and when it rang she looked at me first before she looked at the screen. My name is Jerome, and this is my revenge story. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment with the city you're watching from. It really helps me bring you more great stories. The bathroom door was still closed. I could hear water running, faint and steady, probably the sink. My hands felt cold. I looked down at them resting on my knees, and they looked like someone else's hands, older than my 32 years, the knuckles dry and cracked from warehouse work and winter air. The movie kept playing on the screen, but I had stopped hearing it. All I could hear was that phone buzzing against her ribs and the way she moved away from me like I was dangerous. She came out 7 minutes later. I know because I counted them on the cable box clock, watched the numbers flip over one by one while my chest got tighter. Her face was calm, almost too calm, the kind of peaceful that comes from practice. She picked up the blanket, folded it in half, draped it over the arm of the couch, and told me she was tired. Her voice was soft. She kissed my cheek, and her lips were cool and dry. She said goodnight and walked toward the bedroom we shared, the one with her clothes in half the closet and her lotion on the nightstand. I did not follow her right away. I sat on that couch in the dark with the television casting shadows across the wall and thought about all the small things I had been ignoring. The way she started going to the gym at night instead of morning. The way she turned her body away when she texted. The new underwear I found in the laundry, black lace, the tags still on them, that she never wore for me. The credit card statement that showed a charge at a hotel downtown on a Wednesday afternoon when she said she was at her sister's house. Around 2:30, I went to the bedroom. Simone was asleep or pretending to be, curled on her side facing the window, her breathing slow and even. I lay down on my back and stared at the ceiling and tried to make sense of what I knew and what I felt. Her phone was on the nightstand, face down, charging. The screen lit up once with a notification and went dark again before I could move. I closed my eyes and listened to her breathe, and wondered how long she had been lying to me and whether I had the strength to find out the truth. The next morning she was gone before I woke up. There was no note, no coffee made, just an empty space in the bed where her warmth used to be and the faint smell of her perfume hanging in the air. I got up and walked through the apartment, touching things that belonged to her. A hairbrush on the bathroom counter, a coffee mug in the sink, a sweater draped over a chair. Everything felt like evidence of a life I no longer recognized. I picked up my own phone and stared at it, then set it down again. I did not know who to call or what to say. I went to work that Wednesday like nothing was wrong. Clocked in at 6, pulled pallets until noon, ate my lunch in the break room with the same men I ate with every day. They talked about the game, about their kids, about the supervisor who was sleeping with the new girl in receiving. I nodded and chewed my sandwich and said nothing. My hands moved, but my mind was somewhere else, back in that apartment, watching Simone hide her phone against her chest. Marcus sat down across from me with his usual turkey wrap and energy drink. We had worked together for 5 years, came up through the temp pool together, both got hired permanent the same week. He looked at me longer than normal, his eyes narrowed, and asked if I was good. I told him I was fine. He did not believe me, but he let it go. We had that kind of friendship, built on work and silence, where you did not push unless someone was bleeding. I appreciated that about him. After shift, I drove home through traffic that barely moved, the sun beating through the windshield, my shirt sticking to my back. I thought about confronting Simone when I got home, thought about demanding to see her phone, about asking her straight who she was talking to at 1 in the morning. But something stopped me. Some instinct that told me I needed to know more before I showed my hand. If she was cheating, and every part of me said she was, then I needed proof, real proof, not just a hidden phone and a bad feeling. I stopped at a gas station on Fulton Street and filled up the tank. While the pump ran, I scrolled through our shared cell phone account on my phone, something I had never done before. We had been on the same plan for 2 years to save money. I could see her number, her data usage, but not the actual calls or texts. That required a password I did not have. I stared at the screen, feeling stupid and angry, then put the phone away and finished pumping gas. At home, Simone was cooking dinner. She wore jeans and a white tank top, her hair pulled back, music playing from her phone on the counter. She smiled when I walked in, came over and kissed me on the mouth, asked how my day was. I told her it was fine. She smelled like onions and garlic and something sweet, maybe perfume, maybe lotion. She told me dinner would be ready in 20 minutes. She seemed happy, light, like the night before had never happened. We ate at the small table by the window. She talked about her day at the salon where she worked, about a client who wanted purple highlights and ended up crying when they came out too dark, about her coworker Shanice who was pregnant again. I listened and nodded and watched her mouth move and wondered if everything she said was a lie. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Her palm was warm. She asked if I wanted to watch something together after dinner. I said yes. We washed dishes side by side, her washing and me drying, the same routine we had done 100 times. She bumped her hip against mine and laughed at something I did not hear. I put the plates away in the cabinet and folded the dish towel and felt like I was watching myself from across the room, going through motions that meant nothing. Her phone sat on the counter the whole time, face down, silent. That night we watched a cooking show and she fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. Her phone buzzed once around 11. I felt it vibrate against the couch cushion between us. She did not wake up. I looked down at her face, peaceful and soft in the television light, and felt something break inside my chest. Not anger yet, something colder. I reached slowly toward her phone and she stirred, shifted her weight, pressed closer against me. I pulled my hand back and left it there. Thursday morning, I called in sick to work. Told the supervisor I had food poisoning, that I would be back Friday. Simone left for the salon at 8:30 like always, her purse over her shoulder, travel mug of coffee in her hand. She kissed me goodbye and told me to feel better and said she would bring me soup on her lunch break. I watched her car pull out of the parking lot from the bedroom window, waited until it disappeared around the corner, then got dressed. I drove to a phone store in a strip mall 20 minutes away, somewhere she would never go. The kid behind the counter was maybe 19, bored, scrolling his own phone when I walked in. I told him I needed to recover deleted messages from my account. He looked up at me with tired eyes and said they could not do that messages lived on the device, not the network. I asked what else I could access. He said call logs, data usage, nothing useful unless I had the actual phone. I left that store and sat in my car with the engine running, heat blasting even though it was not cold. I felt like an idiot, like I was playing detective in a situation that should have been simple. If I trusted her, I would not be here. If I did not trust her, I should just leave. But it was not that clean. We had built a life together. We had plans. A wedding date in September, a venue booked, deposits paid. Her family loved me. My mother loved her. Walking away meant burning all of that down on a suspicion. I drove to the public library and used one of their computers. Searched how to catch a cheating partner. The results made me sick. Forums full of broken people trading advice on spyware and GPS trackers and private investigators. I read through thread after thread, men and women describing the same pattern. The distance, the hidden phone, the new habits. I closed the browser and sat there staring at the blank screen, my reflection ghostly in the monitor. By the time I got home, it was past noon. Simone had texted me twice asking how I felt and if I needed anything. I texted back that I was sleeping, that I felt better. She sent back a heart emoji. I stared at that heart for a long time before I put my phone down. I made myself a sandwich I did not eat and turned on the television and tried to think clearly. Around 3, I heard a car door slam outside. I looked through the blinds and saw Simone getting out of her car earlier than usual. She was supposed to work until 6. She walked fast toward the building, her phone pressed to her ear, her face tight with something that looked like anger or fear. She was talking, but I could not hear the words. She hung up before she reached the door. She came inside smiling, the expression changing so fast it was like watching someone flip a switch. She asked how I was feeling, touched my forehead to check for fever, offered to make me tea. I told her I was fine, just tired. She said she left work early to take care of me. I asked why. She said because she loved me and wanted to make sure I was okay. Her eyes did not match her words. That night I pretended to fall asleep early, lay in bed with my eyes closed, my breathing slow and steady, listening. Around midnight her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once, twice, 3 times. I heard her shift under the covers, felt her weight leave the mattress. She moved quietly toward the door, her footsteps careful, and I waited until I heard the bathroom door close before I opened my eyes and stared into the darkness. Friday, I went back to work and moved through my shift like a ghost. Pulled orders, loaded trucks, signed paperwork. Marcus asked again if I was good. This time I told him I might not be. He nodded slow and said if I needed to talk, he was around. I told him I appreciated it, but I did not know what to say yet. He clapped me on the shoulder and walked away and left me standing there with a clipboard in my hands and a weight in my chest that made it hard to breathe. Simone texted me around lunch asking what I wanted for dinner. I told her I would pick something up on the way home. She sent back a sad face emoji and said she missed cooking for me. I did not respond. I put my phone in my locker and went back to work and tried not to think about her at all. It did not work. Every quiet moment she was there in my head, hiding that phone, walking to the bathroom, kissing me with cool lips. After work, I did not go home right away. I drove to a bar I had never been to, sat at the counter and ordered a beer I nursed for an hour. The television above the bar played highlights from games I did not care about. 2 women at a table near the window laughed loud enough to turn heads. A man in a suit argued with someone on his phone. I watched all of it like I was watching a movie, separate and safe. When I finally walked through the apartment door, it was almost 9. Simone was on the couch in leggings and one of my old shirts, her legs tucked under her, a glass of wine in her hand. She looked up when I came in and her face did something complicated, relief and annoyance mixed together. She asked where I had been. I told her I stopped for a drink. She asked why I did not tell her. I said I did not think I needed permission. The air between us went cold. She set her wine glass down on the coffee table. Carefully, her movements slow. She asked if something was wrong. I looked at her sitting there in my shirt, her hair loose around her shoulders, her eyes wide and innocent, and I wanted to scream. Instead, I said I was tired and went to the bedroom. She did not follow me. I lay on the bed, fully dressed, and stared at the ceiling. From the living room I could hear the television, low murmur of voices, the canned laughter of a sitcom. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Marcus asking if I made it home okay. I texted back, yeah, and thanks. He sent a thumbs up. I closed my eyes and tried to figure out what to do next. Around 11, Simone came to bed. She did not say anything, just changed into a nightshirt and climbed in beside me, keeping to her side. The silence was thick and strange. Usually we talked before sleep, small talk about the day, plans for the weekend, nothing important but comfortable. Tonight there was nothing. She turned off the lamp and the room went dark. I listened to her breathing, waiting for it to slow and deepen into sleep. 2 hours later her phone lit up the room. She grabbed it fast, swiped the screen, read something that made her bite her lower lip. Then she typed back, her thumbs moving quick across the glass. The light made shadows on her face. She looked different in that glow. Sharper, like someone I had never met. She finished typing and set the phone face down on her chest and closed her eyes. I realized then she knew I was awake. She had known the whole time. Saturday morning, I woke up alone. The apartment was quiet in a way that felt permanent. I walked through every room looking for a note, some explanation, and found nothing. Her car was gone from the parking lot. I checked my phone and saw a text sent at 7. Going to help Shanice move some furniture. Back this afternoon. Love you. I sat on the edge of the bed with that text on my screen and tried to remember the last time Simone mentioned Shanice moving. I could not. I opened our message history and scrolled back through weeks of conversations looking for any mention of it. Nothing. I called Shanice. The phone rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I did not leave a message. I spent the morning cleaning the apartment, scrubbing the kitchen counter, vacuuming the living room, wiping down surfaces that were already clean. I needed to move, needed my hands busy, needed to stop my brain from running in circles. Around noon, I found a receipt in the pocket of Simone's jeans from the laundry basket. Dinner at a steakhouse downtown. Wednesday night. The same night she said she was with her sister. The receipt showed 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine, 1 dessert split. $73 before tip. I stood in the laundry room holding that piece of paper and felt the floor shift under my feet. She had paid. Used our joint credit card. Did not even try to hide it because she knew I never checked the statements. I took a picture of the receipt with my phone and put it back exactly where I found it. Simone came home around 3 carrying grocery bags and smiling. She kissed me on the cheek and started putting things away, talking about Shanice's new place, how small it was, how they had to carry a couch up 3 flights of stairs. She showed me a picture on her phone of Shanice standing in an empty living room, boxes stacked against the wall. The photo could have been from anywhere, any time. I nodded and said it looked nice. She made dinner while I sat at the table pretending to read something on my phone. I was actually looking at our credit card statement, scrolling through charges from the past month. The steakhouse was there. So was a charge at a boutique hotel. Another at a wine bar I had never heard of. All on days and times she said she was somewhere else. My hands started shaking, so I put the phone face down on the table. We ate pasta with marinara sauce, and she talked about wedding plans, about flowers and centerpieces, and whether we should do a DJ or a band. She was animated, happy, her eyes bright. She reached across the table and took my hand and told me she could not wait to marry me. I looked at her fingers intertwined with mine and felt nothing but a cold, spreading numbness. After dinner, I told her I was going to Marcus's house to watch the fight. She looked surprised, said I had not mentioned it before. I told her it came up last minute. She asked what time I would be home. I said I did not know, probably late. She stood in the doorway watching me put on my jacket, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. I kissed her forehead and walked out without looking back. I did not go to Marcus's house. I sat in my car in the parking lot with the engine off and called him. Told him I needed a favor, something I could not explain yet, but would soon. He asked what I needed. I asked if I could use his name as an alibi tonight and maybe other nights. There was a long silence. Then he said, "Yeah, of course, whatever I needed." I thanked him and hung up and started driving with no destination in mind. I ended up at a diner off the interstate. One of those 24-hour places with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like it had been sitting since morning. I ordered eggs and toast and sat by the window watching headlights pass on the highway. The waitress refilled my coffee 3 times without asking. I left her a good tip and drove home around midnight. Simone was asleep when I got in. Or pretending. I could never tell anymore. I undressed in the dark and climbed into bed and lay there staring at nothing. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from a number I did not recognize. "You don't know me, but you should know your girl isn't who you think she is." I sat up so fast my head spun. I typed back, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No response came. I stared at that message until my eyes burned. Read it over and over. Tried to figure out if it was real or some kind of scam. The number had a local area code, no profile picture, no name, just those words glowing in the dark. I wanted to wake Simone up and show her, demand an explanation, but something told me to wait, to see if the person would say more. Sunday morning, I woke up before Simone and checked my phone. Nothing new from the unknown number. I got up and made coffee and sat at the kitchen table thinking. Simone came out around 9, her hair messy from sleep, wearing shorts and a t-shirt. She smiled at me and poured herself coffee and asked how the fight was. I said it was good. She asked who won. I had no idea, so I said the guy everyone thought would lose. She nodded and did not ask anything else. We spent the day doing nothing together. Watched television, did laundry, went to the grocery store. Normal couple things that felt like a performance. Every time her phone buzzed, she picked it up immediately, read the screen, sometimes typed back, sometimes just dismissed the notification. I watched her do this maybe 10 times, and each time my jaw got tighter. Around 7 that evening, my phone buzzed again. The unknown number. Meet me tomorrow. Coffee shop on Meridian and 5th. Noon. Come alone. My heart kicked hard against my ribs. I looked up at Simone. She was reading something on her own phone, her face bathed in blue light, completely unaware. I typed back, "How do I know this isn't fake?" The response came fast. "Because I have pictures." I told Simone I was going to take a shower, locked the bathroom door and sat on the edge of the tub with my phone in my hands. I thought about ignoring the message, about blocking the number and pretending it never happened. But I could not. If someone had pictures, if someone knew something, I needed to see it. I needed to know the truth even if it destroyed me. That night I barely slept. Lay in the dark, listening to Simone breathe, my mind racing through possibilities. Who would contact me? How did they get my number? What did they know? The questions multiplied until I felt sick with them. Around 4 in the morning, I gave up on sleep and went to the living room and sat in the dark until the sun came up. Monday morning, I called in sick again. Second time in a week. The supervisor did not sound happy but did not push back. I told Simone I still was not feeling right, that I was going to the doctor just to be safe. She offered to come with me. I said no, that I would be fine, that she should go to work. She kissed me and told me to text her what the doctor said. I promised I would. I watched her leave from the window like I had before, waited until her car was gone. Then I got dressed in jeans and a button-down shirt, something normal, something that would not stand out. I left the apartment at 11 and drove to the coffee shop on Meridian and 5th, my hands tight on the wheel, my stomach doing flips. The place was small and busy, tables full of people on laptops, students with textbooks, a line at the counter. I ordered a black coffee I did not want and found a table near the back where I could see the door. 11:53. I waited. Watched every person who walked in. A woman with a stroller, 2 men in suits, a teenager with headphones. None of them looked at me. At 12:07, a woman walked in and stopped just inside the door. She was maybe 40, black, wearing dark jeans and a leather jacket, her hair cut short and natural. She scanned the room, and when her eyes landed on me, she held my gaze for 3 long seconds. Then she walked over and sat down across from me without asking. She did not say hello. She pulled her phone from her purse and set it on the table between us, screen down. She said her name was Vanessa, that she worked with Simone at the salon, that she felt sick keeping what she knew to herself because I seemed like a good man who deserved better. My throat was so dry I could barely swallow. I asked her what she knew. Vanessa turned her phone over and pulled up a photo. Simone standing outside a hotel, laughing, her head thrown back. Next to her stood a man I did not recognize. Tall, light-skinned, wearing expensive-looking clothes. His arm was around her waist. The timestamp on the photo was 2 weeks ago, a Thursday afternoon. Vanessa swiped. Another photo. Same hotel. Simone and the man getting into his car. Another swipe. The two of them at a restaurant sitting close, his hand covering hers on the table. I stared at those photos until they blurred. Asked Vanessa who the man was. She said his name was Troy. That he owned a barber shop 2 blocks from the salon. that he and Simone had been seeing each other for at least 3 months, maybe longer, that everyone at the salon knew, but no one wanted to be the one to tell me. She said she almost did not either, but then she thought about her own ex-husband, how she wished someone had told her before she wasted 6 more years. I asked if there were more photos. Vanessa nodded and swiped through maybe a dozen more. Simone and Troy at a bar, getting coffee. Walking through a park, holding hands. The evidence was overwhelming and irrefutable, and it felt like drowning. I asked Vanessa why she was showing me this. She said because Simone talked about me at work, said I was boring and predictable, said Troy made her feel alive in ways I never could. Vanessa said she could not stomach it anymore. I thanked Vanessa and asked if she could send me those photos. She hesitated, then nodded and asked for my number. I gave it to her, and she airdropped the entire folder, 37 photos. Vanessa stood up, squeezed my shoulder once, and told me she was sorry. Then she left, and I sat there alone with my coffee going cold and a phone full of proof that my life had been a lie. I did not go home. I drove to a park near the river and sat on a bench watching the water move. People jogged past, walked dogs, pushed children on swings. Normal life continuing while mine fell apart. I went through every photo Vanessa sent me, memorized every detail. The way Troy touched Simone's face, the way she looked at him, the timestamps that proved how long I had been a fool. Around 3, my phone rang. Simone. I let it go to voicemail. She called again 5 minutes later. I turned the phone face down on the bench and closed my eyes. When I finally listened to her voicemail, she sounded worried, said she had not heard from me all day, asked if the doctor appointment went okay. Her voice was soft and sweet and completely fake. I sat in that park until the sun started going down and the temperature dropped and my fingers went numb. Then I drove home. Simone was in the kitchen cooking again, anxiety written all over her face. She rushed over when I walked in, asked where I had been, why I did not answer my phone. I told her the doctor ran tests and my phone died. She asked what the tests showed. I said they were not sure yet, that I had to go back later in the week. She made me sit down while she finished dinner, kept touching my arm, my shoulder, asking if I was okay. I said I was fine, just tired. We ate chicken and rice and she talked about her day, about a client who wanted a full head of highlights and sat in the chair for 4 hours. She did not mention Troy. Did not mention leaving work early or being anywhere she was not supposed to be. Just lies wrapped in normal conversation. After dinner, I told her I needed to go for a drive to clear my head. She looked hurt, asked if I wanted company. I said no. She asked when I would be back. I said I did not know. I grabbed my keys and walked out before she could say anything else. In my rearview mirror, I saw her standing in the doorway, her arms wrapped around herself, watching me leave. I drove to the address Vanessa had mentioned, the barbershop Troy owned. It was in a nicer part of town, brick building with big windows, a blue and red pole spinning out front. The lights were off, the place closed for the night. I parked across the street and looked at it, trying to understand what Simone saw in a man who owned this, what I could not give her. Around 9, my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "You good?" I texted back, "Getting there." He sent, "Need anything?" I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, "Yeah. I need to know how to move money without someone knowing." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "Call me." I called him from the parking lot across from Troy's barbershop. Told him everything. The hidden phone, the receipts, the photos, all of it. Marcus listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then he said something I did not expect. "Don't do anything stupid. Do it smart." I asked what that meant. He said, "You want revenge or you want to win?" I thought about that. Then I said, "Both." Marcus told me to come to his place. I drove there and found him on his porch with 2 beers and a serious expression. We sat on his steps in the cold and he laid it out plain. If I wanted to confront Simone, I could do that tonight, get the satisfaction of calling her out, watching her cry and lie and beg. But that was emotion. If I wanted to win, I had to be cold. I had to plan. He asked about our money. I told him we had a joint checking account, joint savings. The credit cards were in both names. He shook his head. Said the first thing I needed to do was protect myself financially before she knew I knew. He asked about the apartment. I said we were both on the lease. He asked about the wedding deposits. I said most were in her name but paid from our joint account. He took a long drink of his beer and told me I was exposed. We went inside and he pulled up a laptop, walked me through opening a new checking account at a different bank, something Simone would never see. Told me to start moving money slowly, a little at a time so it looked like normal expenses. Gas, groceries, nothing that would raise flags. He said once I had enough saved to cover first and last month's rent somewhere else, then I could make my move. I asked about the wedding. Marcus looked at me hard and said I needed to let that go. All that money, the deposits, the venue, the photographer. It was gone. Trying to get it back would mean lawyers and time and giving Simone a chance to spin the story her way. Better to walk away clean. I felt sick thinking about all those thousands of dollars, all those hours of planning, just disappearing. But I knew he was right. We talked until past midnight. Marcus told me about his divorce 5 years back, how his ex-wife cleaned out their account the day she left, how he learned the hard way to protect himself first. He said the hardest part would be acting normal while I prepared, going to bed next to Simone, kissing her goodbye, pretending everything was fine while I moved pieces into place. He asked if I could do that. I said I had to. I drove home around 1 in the morning. Simone was awake, sitting on the couch in the dark, her phone in her hands. When I walked in, she stood up fast, her face a mix of relief and anger. She asked where I had been. I said Marcus's place. She asked why I did not tell her. I said I did not think I had to report my every move. The words came out harder than I meant them to. She stepped back like I had pushed her, asked what was wrong with me lately. I looked at her standing there, her eyes wide and innocent, and felt a cold rage settle in my chest. But I remembered what Marcus said. Smart, not stupid. So I softened my voice and told her I was stressed about work, about money, about the wedding. She came over and hugged me, and I let her, stood there with my arms at my sides while she pressed her face against my chest. That night I lay in bed next to her and stared at the ceiling making plans. In the morning, I would open that new account, start moving money, find a new place to live, document everything, and when the time was right, when I had all my pieces in position, I would show her exactly who she had been underestimating. Tuesday morning, I opened a new checking account at a bank downtown during my lunch break. Transferred $500 to start, made it look like I was paying off an old debt. The teller was friendly, asked if I needed checks or a debit card. I said just the card. She processed everything in 10 minutes, and I walked out with a new account Simone would never know about. Over the next 2 weeks, I moved money in small amounts. $80 here, $120 there. Told Simone I was buying lunch more at work, that gas prices were going up. She barely noticed. She was distracted, always on her phone, always busy with something or someone else. I watched her lie about where she was going and smiled and kissed her and died a little inside each time. I found an apartment on the other side of town, 1 bedroom, smaller than what we had but clean and cheap. Gave the landlord first and last month's rent in cash from my new account. Told him I would move in at the end of the month. He asked if I was married. I said not anymore. He nodded like he heard that story every day and handed me the keys. At work, Marcus checked on me daily, asked how I was holding up, if I needed anything. I told him I was good, that the plan was working. He said I looked tired. I was. Lying took energy. Playing the role of the loving fiancé while building an exit strategy was exhausting. But I was committed now. No turning back. Simone started talking about the wedding more, about finalizing the guest list, about her dress fitting in 2 weeks. She showed me pictures of centerpieces and asked my opinion. I said they all looked nice. She got frustrated, said I was not engaged in the planning, that she was doing everything herself. I apologized and kissed her forehead and thought about Troy touching her face in those photos. On a Thursday night 3 weeks after meeting Vanessa, I came home early from work and Simone was not there. Her car was gone. No text, no note. I checked her location on our shared phone app, something we had set up years ago for safety. She was at an address I did not recognize. I put the address into maps. It was Troy's barbershop. I sat on the couch with my phone in my hand and felt something break loose inside me. All the planning, all the patience, all the careful control. For a moment I wanted to drive there and kick the door down. Confront them both. Make a scene. But I did not. I sat there breathing slowly, in and out, until the rage passed and the cold came back. Then I took a screenshot of her location and saved it with all the other evidence. Simone came home 2 hours later with shopping bags and a smile. Said she was picking up some last-minute things for the wedding. I asked what things. She showed me napkins and little decorative items I did not care about. I nodded and said they were perfect. That night I moved another $1,000 into my secret account and started packing boxes in my head. The wedding was 6 weeks away when I made my final preparations. I had moved almost $8,000 into my new account, enough to live on for a few months while I figured things out. I had copied every document I needed, photographed every receipt, saved every screenshot. I had a new apartment waiting. All I needed now was the right moment. That moment came on a Saturday night. Simone said she was going out with Shanice and some girls from the salon. She got dressed up, wore the black lace underwear I had found months ago, sprayed perfume I had bought her for Christmas. She kissed me goodbye and said she would be home late, not to wait up. I watched her leave and counted to 60. Then I followed her. She did not go to any bar, did not meet any girls. She drove straight to a hotel on the north side, the same one from the credit card statement. I parked 3 spaces down and watched her walk into the lobby. 5 minutes later, Troy pulled up in a black Mercedes. He walked in like he owned the place, his stride confident and easy. I sat in my car with the engine off and watched the entrance for 20 minutes. Neither of them came back out. I drove home and went to work. Carried boxes from my closet to my car, clothes and shoes and everything I cared about. It took 4 trips. I left all the furniture, all the kitchen stuff, everything we had bought together. I did not want any of it. I took my grandfather's watch from the dresser, my books from the shelf, the framed photo of my parents from the wall. Personal things. Irreplaceable things. By 3 a.m, my car was packed and the apartment looked half empty. I stood in the bedroom doorway and looked at the space we had shared for 2 years. The bed where we had slept and talked and made love. The window where she stood in the mornings drinking coffee. I felt nothing. No sadness, no regret. Just a clean, cold relief that it was almost over. I left one thing on the kitchen table. A folder. Inside were printouts of every photo Vanessa had sent me. Every credit card receipt. Every screenshot of Simone's location at Troy's shop. Every piece of evidence organized and dated. On top, I placed a single note written in black ink. I know everything. The wedding is canceled. Don't contact me. Don't try to explain. We're done. The joint accounts will be closed Monday. You have until then to take what you think you deserve. Jerome. I took off the engagement ring I had been wearing and placed it on top of the note. Then I walked out of that apartment for the last time and drove to my new place across town. I carried my boxes upstairs one by one in the dark. The apartment was empty and cold, but it was mine. Only mine. I sat on the floor with my back against the wall and waited for sunrise. My phone started ringing at 7:30. Simone. I let it go to voicemail. She called 9 more times in the next hour. Then the texts started. Dozens of them. Jerome, please, let me explain. It's not what you think. Please just talk to me. I made a mistake. I love you. Please. I read every one and felt nothing. I blocked her number at 8:45. Monday morning, I went to the bank and closed our joint accounts. Took out half the remaining money in cash, left the other half in an envelope at the branch with Simone's name on it. The teller asked if everything was all right. I said it was fine, just a separation. She processed the paperwork without another word. I walked out of that bank feeling lighter than I had in months. At work, I told my supervisor I needed to update my emergency contact information. Changed it from Simone to Marcus. He noticed and asked if we broke up. I said yes. He said he was sorry. I told him not to be. Marcus met me at lunch and asked how I was doing. I said better than expected. He said I looked different, clearer somehow. I told him I felt like I could breathe again. Simone showed up at my job Tuesday afternoon. Security called me to the front desk. She was standing there in jeans and a sweatshirt, her eyes red from crying, mascara smeared down her cheeks. She said we needed to talk. I told her there was nothing to say. She said I was making a mistake, that she could explain everything. I looked at her and remembered every lie, every hidden phone call, every night she came home smelling like him. I told her the wedding was canceled and she needed to handle telling everyone why. Told her she could keep the deposits, keep whatever she wanted from the apartment. Told her I would pay my half of the lease until it was up in 4 months, then I was done. She grabbed my arm and begged me to listen. I pulled away and walked back inside. Security escorted her out. I watched through the window as she stood in the parking lot crying, her phone pressed to her ear, probably calling Troy. The calls came from other people next. Her mother, her sister, Shanice. All of them asking what happened, saying Simone was devastated, saying I should give her another chance. I told them all the same thing. She made her choice and I made mine. Her mother called me cruel. Her sister said I was throwing away something good over one mistake. I did not argue. I just hung up and blocked their numbers too. Marcus asked if I wanted to get a drink after work. We went to that same bar I had gone to weeks ago, sat at the counter and watched the game. He asked if I had any regrets. I thought about it. Thought about the time I had wasted, the money I had lost, the future I had imagined that would never happen. Then I thought about the apartment with just my things in it, the mornings I woke up without wondering where she had been the night before, the peace of not living in a lie. I told Marcus no regrets. He nodded and ordered another round. We drank in comfortable silence and I realized something. I had spent months feeling like I was falling apart, like I was losing everything, but I was not losing anything real. I was cutting away dead weight. I was choosing myself for the first time in years, and it felt right. That night I went home to my empty apartment and slept better than I had in months. No buzzing phones, no lies in the dark, no one pretending to love me while loving someone else. Just silence and space and the knowledge that I had walked away with my dignity intact. I had not begged, had not screamed, had not made a scene. I had simply stopped playing a game I could never win and started a new one on my own terms. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my apartment on a Saturday morning drinking coffee when someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Troy standing there in expensive sneakers and a designer jacket. For a second, I thought about not answering. Then I opened the door and stood in the frame, blocking his entry. He said we needed to talk. I asked what about. He said about Simone, about the situation, about handling things like men. I almost laughed. I asked if showing up uninvited to my home was his idea of handling things like a man. He shifted his weight, his confidence cracking just slightly. He said Simone told him I had destroyed her, that I had humiliated her by canceling the wedding without talking to her, that she was broken and it was my fault. I looked at Troy standing there trying to defend the woman he had been sleeping with behind my back, and something cold and final settled in my chest. I told him I did not destroy Simone. She destroyed herself, that I had given her 3 years of loyalty and love and honesty while she gave me lies and betrayal, that she could have ended things with dignity but instead chose to sneak around like I was too stupid to notice, that the humiliation was hers to own, not mine to carry. Troy said I did not understand their connection, that what they had was real, that Simone had been unhappy with me for over a year. I asked why she did not just leave then, why she kept planning a wedding, kept taking my money, kept sleeping in my bed while she was sleeping in his. He had no answer for that, just stared at me with his jaw tight and his hands in his pockets. I told him he was welcome to her, to all her lies and all her drama, that I was done. He took a step forward like he might do something. I did not move. I was not scared of Troy. I was not scared of anything anymore. I had already lost everything I thought mattered and discovered I was fine without it. Better than fine. He must have seen something in my face because he stopped and stepped back. Told me I would regret this, that Simone was a good woman and I was throwing her away. I said if she was so good he could marry her himself. I closed the door in his face and went back to my coffee. Heard his footsteps heavy on the stairs, heard his car start and drive away. I sat on my couch in the quiet apartment and thought about the man I had been 6 months ago, the one who ignored red flags and trusted blindly and believed love was enough. That man was gone. In his place was someone harder, sharper, someone who knew his worth and would not settle for less than he deserved. The following Monday, I got a text from Vanessa. She said she heard about the breakup, that the whole salon was talking, that Simone had been crying to anyone who would listen, saying I had abandoned her over nothing, that I was heartless and cold. Vanessa said she set the record straight, told everyone what she had seen, what she knew, that Simone had stopped coming to work 3 days ago, probably out of shame. I thanked Vanessa and told her I appreciated her honesty from the beginning. Marcus came by that night with pizza and beer. We sat on my floor because I still did not have much furniture and talked about everything except Simone. He told me about a woman he had been seeing, about maybe taking her somewhere nice for her birthday. I told him she was lucky to have someone who actually gave a damn. He said I would find that too, when I was ready. I told him maybe, but I was not looking. I was learning how to be whole by myself first. 6 months. That was how long it took from the night Simone hid her phone to the night I closed the door on Troy. 6 months of lies and evidence and planning and finally walking away. People asked me later if it was worth it, if I should have just confronted her right away and saved myself the trouble. I told them they did not understand. It was never about saving time. It was about saving myself. About making sure when I walked away, I did it on my terms, with my dignity, with my money, with my future still intact. Simone tried to reach out twice more through mutual friends. Once to apologize, once to ask if we could talk about closure. I declined both times. There was no closure needed. She made her choice every time she lied, every time she snuck around, every time she put that phone face down and walked away from me. And I made mine when I stopped pretending I did not see it. When I planned instead of reacted. When I protected myself instead of a relationship that was already dead. I saw her once from a distance, maybe 8 months later. She was walking out of a restaurant with Troy, his arm around her waist the same way it had been in those photos. She looked smaller somehow, tired. She saw me across the parking lot and stopped walking. We locked eyes for 3 seconds. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no lingering pain. Just indifference. I nodded once, got in my car, and drove away. That was the last time I ever saw her. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done in Jerome's place? Leave your comment, like this video, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you want another powerful story, click on the video appearing to your left.